All right. Okay, so here we are, Node.js tooling group meeting on this 29th of May, 2020. If people could go in and, as Brian has done here in the minutes, add yourself to the list of those present. If you cannot do that, please say so and somebody will add you. Does anybody got anything that they want to add to this agenda that's not already on the agenda?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I just want, I have a quick thing to share. I hacked the npm diff command. Might be nice to share at the end if there's time.
It's the what command?
Diffing command to npm.
Diff?
So there's an RFC, yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to share because I think it's, yeah, folks from this group might be interested on it.
Okay. Do we want to, does anybody care if we do that at the beginning or should we do that at the end?
It can be at the end, yeah.
Okay. I'll just.
If we have time, I wanted to bring up, I'm running a team of interns this summer and we're working on something that I want to do partially for the Node.js project. So I'd like to talk about it. It's like tooling adjacent, I think.
Okay. Cool. So the first thing on the agenda would be this standard in. And you know what, before I start, I want to put something on this too. Okay, so standard in read interface. I have not kept up with this one. It looks like top level await it kind of makes this less like painful to use. I don't know if Ray, you think we want to table this one, or if we still want to keep it on the agenda going forward, or
I think it's, yeah, it's probably good to keep the issue there just to collect feedback, but we can take it off the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. I will do that right now. Okay. Yeah. Definitely good to have a place to discuss if anything else comes up. All right. Next, FileHooks. And so there was something you may have missed unless you have been very quick on your notifications. Vladimir popped into the issue, and this is issue 63, and I'll just put it in the chat, But down there at the bottom, so he's been sidetracked with some stuff. He says he has a prototype, but he's not happy with the API. He kind of explains a little bit of how it works, but he's not to the stage of the make FS lie yet. So he essentially, he doesn't have anything to show off yet, but it's still, you know, it's on his plate. So, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up here?
There's a number of similar efforts going on at the same time, or at least one other one, which is Diagnostic Channel. So that's Stephen. I think that's kind of your thing. Maybe you want to say something about that.
Yeah, I'm currently responsible for the Diagnostics Channel thing, which has kind of been sitting for a while, but it overlaps quite a bit. The idea is basically just to have a way to intercept calls to just anything interesting like IO related things or things like that, and be able to capture like inputs and have some information about like what the call is, just for diagnostics purposes. It's like APMs use all this kind of stuff, and currently you just do monkey path everything. So if there was a centralized channel that like a lot of this stuff is going through, the like hooks concepts to be able to like mutate or cancel certain actions, I think would overlap quite a bit with that capability.
Stephen, I wonder if you can cross-reference something in there. If there's anything to cross-reference in issue 63 here, maybe if there's a link to another discussion somewhere else or pull request.
Yeah, I can put the diagnostics issue in there.
Okay. Bradley has his hand up, his virtual hand.
So I do a lot with the ES module loader stuff. We are currently in the very slow going process of adding features until we can move loaders off thread. That would at least be part of the discussion here. Part of the file system interception hooks is about the ability to instrument CommonJS, and this, if we allow instrumenting CommonJS via the loader APIs, it probably would have collisions with this API. So I can put that in the notes.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, so he's there's this 180. Let me throw that into here. Oops, nope, wrong issue. Okay. All right, so okay.
So there is one more thing to point out with that as well, is that there's also the efforts currently going forward to add policies, which being a thing that's sort of in the chain, sort of blocking the path to whatever action is happening, much like a diagnostics channel or any other kind of hooks would be. It's worth taking that into account as well, I think. Just whatever happens here, we probably want to make sure that it is not too impactful on performance, just with so many other things going on at the same time.
And it's also like entirely possible that any sort of policy system could be built on top of some lower level hook interface like this.
Right. I'll throw a link to the PR for policies into the meeting notes.
Thank you.
Which policies? There's a PR open and then there's an existing experimental stuff. The PR open is for adding permissions to execution contexts. And it's a different feature from what already exists.
Right, that's the one I'm referring to, the 33504.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm new to this arena, but are people wanting these to stay in the same user context for code execution for all these hooks? Because that's how we got to the mutation and monkey patching that we're in today.
I didn't understand that question.
So currently APMs and other tools are replacing properties and stuff in place of having hooks like these. If the hooks are still in the same global scope, essentially, as user code, mutations to globals, mutations to core built-ins could also affect the hooks. I don't know if that's been a historical concern for this group.
So, and any sort of hook interface, I think it'd be important to design it in a way that it can't really be tampered with.
At the same time, it also makes sense to allow it to be tampered with because that enables more tooling.
So for ESM, we explicitly never want that to happen. So if there is a desire for tools to be able to mutate the ESM loader, they have to do through APIs, not through patching. And so we may need
Right. I mean, no, it's not that we want to monkey patch everything. We want APIs to allow us to do it through the, you know, approved means.
Yeah, I don't like, I haven't really, like, I'm one of the original culprits of doing a lot of monkey patching with NYC and a lot of the Istanbul stuff. And I've been I haven't really had a horse in this race, to be perfectly honest, because I've been building more things into Node, which I think has been working well. Like I like that coverage is now done as part of a Node, and it was a pain in the butt, but it means that it's like I kind of know it's going to work, and it's not using just some random side channel monkey patch, which is nice. So I don't know. I don't have strong opinions about what the needs are of this API, but I have been finding that putting work into having actual documented approaches for doing it has been working well. So that's what I would advocate.
I don't.
Sorry.
Ben, you're still talking and you're muted.
Oh, really? I must be getting some lag. Anyways, I'm like, I don't have a strong opinion about this specific feature, but I would like us to bless APIs for doing the sorts of things we need to do. I don't think we should be just talking about like require.extensions being used by 8 different people. Like that ultimately didn't work very well.
Right.
I don't have any strong concern. It just seems we're starting to get overlapping features, and we should come up with a consistent story.
Yeah, my experience as an APM vendor is that APM vendors step on each other all the time, and so having like an actual consistent defined interface that's like, this is how you hook into stuff safely, would be a huge benefit. And like APM's like, we only monkey patch things because that's the only option we have. If we had an easier, like, standard way of doing it, we would just use that.
Right. I think it's
like clearly defined. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's worth you know, everybody who does have a horse in this race should probably like spin up a team and get together on it. And just kind of, because yes, there's a lot of cross-cutting stuff. There's a lot of different things happening at once. And Bradley's right. We, you know, it would behoove Node to try to have a strategy instead of not.
Yeah, and I think like learn from some of the things that were hard with other injection points, like how does stacking work? Think about that, because there's going to be 2 libraries that want to hook in at the same time. How does that handle? Right? Like actually think of those design constraints.
And I think there are potentially competing needs, essentially. You know, somebody like I suppose myself, who's working in the testing space, we want to be able to mock things out and like turn things off and tinker with stuff. But somebody who's in security might want to stop me from doing that, you know. So there needs to be hopefully some way to make everybody happy. I don't know.
Do we have an action item for, like, what would be a good action item, Chris, for this topic?
I would say we just need to get all the colliding parties together to
Yes.
form an agreement on an approach. We don't have a concrete thing we can produce. We just have to discuss constraints, to my knowledge.
Yeah. So that action item would probably would be for those interested parties to get together and reach out and whatnot, and try to start discussions. And, I don't know if, I don't know. So there's the APMs, there's security, and I mean, maybe it's worth, Ben or I or somebody with interest in testing and that sort of thing to come in and say, well, just to make sure that we can do the things that we need to do as well. But maybe that's even it's a little different. So it's not. Anyway, Ben or I, maybe Ben, I don't know if you have the cycles, but if you all meet, I think I should probably join up and just kind of make sure that we're not stepping on the needs of testing.
Yeah, like I was going to say, I was trying to type in the doc, but my internet's kind of being janky. But I was going to say, like, why don't we get folks from, like, obviously it sounds like modules, security, testing, and the other one, I guess, is the folks who are actually interested in the FileHooks API that we're talking about. So kind of get someone representing those needs.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know how to say his name, Mael or Yarn person. Certainly has an interest. I don't know, Roy, if NPM does, maybe with the Tink stuff or what, but if you're talking, you're muted.
No, sorry, I'm just kind of busy here. But no, yeah, not that I know of. I think we're just kind of following up with everything that's going on now, but I'm not really aware of any Tink stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as I understand, like the Tink stuff.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know how it works. Yeah, but just not been following up that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our action item.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, Chris, you and I were talking about joining the module meeting next week anyways, right? So maybe we can bring it up there too. So maybe that would make sense.
Maybe, I don't know. Bradley, you're on modules, right? Is that something that you think we should discuss there, or no?
I think we can just make a note that we need to have that meeting. I'm sure the modules working group has its hands in way too many things already. I think discussions would likely just be done outside of that meeting. The module loader already has a large number of constraints, so it can't really be as flexible as other things might be able to be.
Okay. So as long as you're here and I'm asking about this, so Ben and I wanted to talk to the modules group about something we brought up. It was brought up quite a while ago, about like access to the cache, or being able to dump things out of the module cache. And yes, we know that's not spec compliant, but it's also
reading the cache is fine.
What's that?
Reading the cache is fine.
Yeah, I know. But it's not sufficient for testing, essentially.
Have you seen Gil Taylor's posts? Gil Taylor's, sorry. Well, this is on the agenda later. Are we going in order? Or are we skipping around?
Is that on this agenda?
It is.
It is. Okay, yeah, we will. I was essentially just piggybacking on, the module, if the module meeting is a good place to bring that up, but we can follow up afterwards. So, all right. So, is there anything else anybody wants to talk about on this, ultimate Node.js hooks system thing?
I just don't know that much about it, so I need to research it more. But so, is there like a good design document I should be reading to like give me the 30,000 foot design goals of fs.hooks? Is there like a summary?
Oh, I mean, I think the problem is there's 5 different ones that do
Okay.
similar things.
I think I'm putting a request forward then is that, yeah, like exactly what we said, get those people talking and try to make a more unified document so we can discuss it.
All right. Okay. So nothing else there. Sweet. All right. Next then is this chmod-r.
Is Darcy on the call?
No.
I think this is interesting. I'd be willing to like help Darcy get his sea legs in Node if he wants help getting sea legs in Node.js. I think Isaac brought some things up on the thread a few weeks ago, which was basically there's some real security, like there's security concerns about privilege escalation, I think was the issue with chmod. I didn't fully grok them yet, but I don't know. It sounds like it's similar to RimRaf where it's actually a more complicated problem than it looks at first blush, I think. So someone needs to dig in and someone needs to own and dig into the userland implementation of chmod-r and see what all of the caveats are. And specifically, I would say with an eye for what Isaac's point about, I think, security issues with it. You just need someone to understand the implementation.
Right. Okay.
But what I would say though, sorry, one more last point would be probably will be similar to RimRaf where it makes sense to do a port of the userland module rather than, I don't think it will be like just an extension to like a simple little extension to the chmod. It sounds like.
Okay. Are there any action items here? I mean, I know, is it just you to talk to Darcy or something?
Yeah, I think like maybe Rui can prod Darcy and see if he's interested. Like, I think it's a matter of getting it on someone's calendar.
Yeah, I can poke him about it.
Like, just say like, just ask for an hour of my time and I can show like, if Darcy's never worked in the Node.js code base, I'm happy to walk him through that part of the code base. So.
Awesome. Yeah, sure, he will appreciate.
Okay. Okay, to move on. All right, so the next one is the module reloading, the module graph, and all that stuff. So as far as I understand, we have personally, like I don't feel comfortable explaining exactly what it is we want, and so I think I need to go back and look at it. But the idea from last meeting was that we had our requirements together, and we wanted to take those requirements and basically go to the modules working group and say, so this is what we think, like these are the problems that we're trying to solve, and so how can we solve them, right? Sure. I don't know anything about the modules implementation at all, and so
a lot of the stuff, if you come with like a solution already, it's probably gonna just not go through. Right. You just got to come with the use cases. One thing I would take a look at, there is a blog post by Gil Taylor. I'm going to put it in the notes. I'm going to put it in the chat, where he's done mocking with loaders. And he does do reloading in the same thing. It goes and explains. We are currently going to be working towards making that a less terrible user experience for somebody writing loaders. However, actually doing a delete in the module cache is unlikely. Even V8's internal implementation of modules, you can't actually delete a module until a global is gone. It is not encouraged for you to ever try to delete a module source text.
So how are people pulling, well, I guess not to get into implementation details, but are people like aliasing the name or like, does the same module end up being cached under different names to replace it instead? Or
stuff like that does occur. Gil Taylor's post goes into great detail about this. The particular problem that we still have is there is not a good communications channel between generated code, which is a string, and the loader. So actually sharing references, his solution for now is to use a global. And we are trying to fix that problem. It's probably going to be a higher priority than trying to delete from the cache, because deleting from the cache has a bunch of race conditions that it starts to introduce. So, and it's not spec compliant, which is hard enough to get through that working group.
And so if you go right now, and just for my understanding, if I go and I'm using CJS and I require a module, and then I go and I delete it from the cache, the require cache, I mean, that works the way you'd think it would, right?
For CJS?
Yes.
Yes, it's just, I mean, for CJS, it's just an object with a key.
Right.
So,
in particular, you cannot have a pending module in CJS because it is a blocking operation to load them. Untrue for ES modules. So say we have two parallel graphs, A and B, and they're both trying to load the module foo. And one deletes foo, the other can have a reference to the stale module job to load foo. But in general, that's not what you actually want. You actually want to load a new job after foo is deleted. It is a very convoluted thing to try to actually muck with the module job map in Node. I'm scared of it, and I've written multiple of them. We have a test suite for it, but I don't think deleting is likely to ever happen. And like I said, you're not even going to save memory or anything by doing that. You're just preventing the need for aliasing.
So yeah, so that just kind of, oh, sorry, Chris, finish it.
Oh no, so why wouldn't this be a memory leak?
Well, anytime you try to load an ES module, it's kind of a memory leak in V8. Because they hold on to modules for the lifetime of the global they're loaded in.
Okay, but like if you were able to remove them from the cache, would that not avoid? I mean, if you keep putting new modules in the cache, how is that not? You can't take them out. How's that not a memory leak?
You cannot remove them from V8's own cache. Okay. It is simply something you should not do.
But it is a memory leak, right? Because you just said it wasn't a memory leak.
I would say it's not a leak. It is just how it works. It is by design.
Okay.
I think some of these are, to me, like some of these leaks are like in defense of what Bradley's suggesting, like it's only a memory leak if you're adding the same module 10,000 times. But like if your goal is to just replace the behavior of the module, like, yeah, you have 2 copies of it, but you know, it's not like that's growing necessarily, like if it depends on your implementation.
Nobody is saying this is good, but
yeah,
you're just, it's not going to work probably how you expect. If you think it's going to act like CommonJS, it is not, unfortunately.
But I don't know. I kind of like the point of bringing instead the requirements like mocking and like mocking and trying to think of what the other requirements are. Like, well, like swapping it out for something with instrumentation. Yeah, like proxying.
Okay. Well, fine. So Ben and I will go to the module group and present the problems. I can't, yes, I didn't want to go in there with a solution, so.
Yeah.
And, you know, our use cases. And, you know, some of those use cases are, in fact, we need to reload this module a million times, but, you know.
We can go talk to V8 about stuff, but for now, aliasing is all you're gonna be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, let's wait for that meeting. Like I know some folks on V8, but I don't. Just like, let's hold our horses.
Yeah. Wait, hold what horses? Talking to V8?
Talking to any V8 folks until we like
Yeah,
talk to the module.
Yeah. Agree. Okay. Do we need to talk any more about this one? All right. Next is support for hooking and spawn sync without patching. Does anybody have anything on this one?
I think I put that one in at some point. Did I?
Either you or Corey. I don't remember.
I think that would probably overlap with the like FileHooks and Diagnostics Channel kind of stuff as well.
I thought this was the no, this is the thing where he needed to fiddle with the environment, right? Oh, Corey, you're here, so.
Yes, I am. Yes, that's the original purpose, is to basically hook the whenever child process spawns a new process. For the sake of NYC, the way that I'm using it is that I manipulate the node options object to inject a require that brings in the NYC code into the child process. Because basically that's how we get it to instrument the child process and then, you know, record coverage when it ends. I'd be interested to see what comes about of the FileHooks, because I'm thinking that I'd be interested in seeing the API for that. The current setup that I have somewhat emulates an event emitter in user space, but I'm not sure that's best, because really I don't want other code to be able to remove the hook. And the bigger deal with that is I don't want other code to basically remove all hooks. Like, it would be unlikely they would directly remove the NYC hook, but they could easily remove all. So I'd like to see what comes up of the FileHooks. Outside the event emitter, another kind of style I was thinking of is, I think it's async hooks, has more of essentially you call an API and register your hooks, and there really isn't a way to remove that hook without a reference to it. Not sure at this point. So at this point, it's kind of on hold.
Corey, is that, would you like to also like do this meeting or whatever we're going to do, get in contact?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please, Carbon, tag me on if an issue is created or what have you.
Okay. All right. Where are we now? Oh, am I? Yes. Okay. A better way to detect a process is exiting. I feel like this was on me to do something and I didn't again.
I
Yeah.
think this. Oh, is it on you? Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a good idea. This is a good idea. Like, everyone ends up using like that. Everyone, you know why it's a good idea. We should look into it more. Just make it so you don't need to use signal exit.
Yes.
For folks who are new to the call, the basic thing is that if you want to actually, like, if you're, say you're Mocha and you want to write one file when Mocha is done running its test suite, you end up in this world where you need to hook into process.exit, but also any of the terminal spawns that any of the terminal signals that one would need to hook into, because those aren't going to emit on the exit event. So having an event that fires on catchable exit events would be good for tooling that then wants to dump something. Tooling that wants to dump something when it's going to terminate, regardless of why it's terminating.
Insofar as we can do that, because we can't if it, seg faults or whatever, right? Okay, yeah, anyway, my thing. We can move on unless anybody else has anything they want to say about that. No. Okay, next is source map. He looks like last time had a pull request.
Yeah, so source maps in stack traces now have feature parity with normal stack traces. They used to not rewrite the kind of snippet of code you see at the end of at the top of the stack trace. It would be like snippet of code of where your error happened, then stack trace. And that snippet of code, we talked about how it's done in node errors.cc, and it was a little kind of hard to monkey patch. I got a PR landed the other week that actually applies the source map to that snippet of code. So you end up with the original source in that snippet of code, and then the stack trace, which includes the original source plus the transpiled source. So yeah, so it's looking pretty good. It works well. That's one of like the kind of the long hanging, that's one of the known things that I hadn't implemented with source maps yet that I was excited to get done.
I didn't know you sent it and it got merged before I could tear it apart. So.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No.
Oh, did you?
This is the first time I'm seeing it. So,
Yeah.
but I had a thing that said I needed to review your thing. But,
oh, okay. I failed at that.
Yeah.
Well, there was kind of two things. The thing that I was supposed to send a patch. So these are two separate things. This one is just a pretty stack trace that has all the context from the source map, which is pretty uncontroversial, and it was kind of just a missing feature. The thing you and I had been talking about was the ability to turn on source maps programmatically instead of with a flag. We talked about whether that should be an option.
Right. Okay. And so, no, okay, yeah, that I think you're right. That's the one I needed to jump in on, and that's not.
Yeah. I continue to be iffy about that one, just because I think it would create. I think people would shoot themselves in the foot with it because of the fact that we can't clear the cache, the module cache. Like you end up in this world where, depending on where you turn the flag on, you start collecting source maps only after you've set the flag. Like I don't know. Like we can make the PR, but I don't know if I would be. I'm not a strong +1 on it. Is where I come in. I'm like on the fence and probably slightly towards maybe it's better to just spawn with the flag.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. So if are you thinking that you don't want to send that PR then, or what?
I'm kind of like I feel like I wonder if it's like, because to be fair, right? Like you only have to spawn with the flag at the very top level of the instrumenter. It's not like all of your tests have to be like Mocha can then run all of its tests not in sub processes because it's on now. You're fine. So it's like that extra 200 milliseconds while you create a sub process. I mean, your point resonated with me that it's a pain to make a sub process, and you have to make sure you pass along all the behavior, and it is a little bit, it's a little annoying.
I mean, if we're looking at Mocha, I mean, Mocha, if you give it node flags, it will spawn a sub process. But I think I was more, and so this behavior, like, that's not, I mean, that's not really an issue, right? Mocha could add an option that, or just start making child processes by default. I don't know. But my concern was like, okay, well, other tools, you know, this is, if they want to use this, it's going to demand that they use a sub process too. And it's just like, I don't know. It's future tools. I feel like shouldn't have to need to do that. But again, I don't know. If you want to talk more about it, we can talk, you know, offline or whatever. I think we should probably.
Yeah, it just comes in as like valley of like, are we opening ourselves up to, like, is the benefit to tooling developers worth the bugs we potentially get open for the next few years of people not understanding the behavior? Like, it is a power feature, so probably it's mostly tooling authors setting the flag anyways, so maybe it's not going to create a burden of support. I don't know, it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah, but you know, we have like 15 minutes and there's other stuff we need to get to. So
yeah,
let's just.
Oh, one last thing on this point, unrelated. I'm thinking of removing the experimental flag from source maps because they've been in the wild for quite a few months and a few node versions. We don't have any open bugs. I was just going to open a PR that calls specifically the stack traces not experimental. I think that process is basically like let it bake and make sure there aren't open issues. Like when I've looked back at PRs where we've called things not experimental. So unless there's like an official process I'm missing, maybe someone can correct.
Yeah, I mean, do we have any idea if this is getting used?
It's definitely getting used, like, because when we turned it on, when we broke Express, we immediately had a bunch of issues open, so it was being used immediately. And then, like, I used it across a few hundred repositories, and we've had it turned on for, I'd say, 6 months. So.
Okay, well, fair enough. I mean, I don't think there's like a process for pulling stuff out of experimental other than you convince everybody it should happen, right?
That's what I thought, and I guess I'll get corrected in that PR if someone says, well, it doesn't meet this. If it doesn't meet this entry criteria, then, oh, there's more of a process than I knew. So,
right. Okay. Well, please let us know if and when you open such a PR. Just like CC node tooling or whatever.
Sounds good.
Oh, and then that reminds me, if anybody here is not on the node tooling team and wants to be, and you will get more GitHub notifications if you are, please let me know and I'll try to do something about that. Okay, the next one then is argument parsing. I don't think there's anything here that's happened. I haven't done anything with it. Ben, have you done anything with it? Rui? No? Okay, I think I can't remember what we needed to do. Let me see. Okay. I feel like we need to just like probably meet again, right? And kind of regroup and say, okay, where are we with this? Is it just time to send a PR or what? Or what do you think?
Yeah, or maybe not necessarily. I think it's about the typing now. It's about creating all the unit tests, bringing them over from the arg parse or whatever, and just start the implementation, right?
Okay. I mean,
my feeling, yeah.
Right. I might have some cycles opening up soon. I'm getting close to the end of the thing that I'm trying to do in Mocha. And so, yeah, that's just been taking up my time. But let's just, I don't know. Let's just follow up with each other offline. Okay. So, Roy, you want to talk about your NPM thing?
Yeah, let me demo this real quick because we have an RC open for this. I have even a POC branch sitting there on NPM, but it's probably broken. I was just reviving it right now. But yeah, basically it's having a kind of a diff tool built into the NPM CLI. So kind of a registry diff.
Sorry, can you make your font much bigger?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, but basically I'm like a compulsive Git diff user. So like I find myself like Git diff all the time, and I would love to have a way to kind of like have the same thing, but against like packages that are published to the registry. So I'm bringing this over to you guys because I know it might be relevant for tooling, but like most especially like package author is going to be quite nice. But yeah, but even for users, like a lot of times we have like, you're running npm outdated, and maybe you just kind of want to know what's going on in there, right? So basically, like you can npm diff, and I can say like yards, so you can point to one package and have like a diff between what you have locally and what is wanted for npm outdated here, right? But I see it being useful for also like security folks, like when doing an npm audit, right? You might want to see the line diff for a specific package, right? Yeah, and gives nicely some more transparency, which I think is nicer for smaller packets. Of course, it's going to be like kind of brutal in frameworks and larger stuff. But I also had this idea of like maybe for something larger, we kind of add a changelog flag. So you could like, okay, let me see what is the difference between two versions of npm, but like they're huge, right? So it's only going to filter out for the changelog file, so you can get that right away. It can also be kind of convenient for updating stuff, but also for package authors. So right now, like I'm sitting on some changes here on my repo, right? So this IPT is a small package that is published to npm. So I could also like npm diff and just get like the difference between the current version and what is on npm. And the nice thing is like it's only going to take into account like files that are tracked by the package, right? So you can see like my test file that has changes here and show up on git diff. It's not showing up on npm diff. So yeah, we already had some feedback. We presented this in the OpenRC call. So like, it would be nice. People want to be like have more options from git diff, like maybe bringing over some options like name only, so people can do more tooling around that. But yeah, it would be nice if anyone has ideas or feelings about it. We have an RFC open at the npm RFC's repo.
Awesome. That looks great.
Yeah, I won't promise for 7.0 because we want to get it out as soon as possible, but maybe it's going to come up for like 7.1 or yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Like you could take that'll help people do terrible things that I haven't even thought of yet. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to have more transparency. Like, it's more direct transparency to what's going on in your dependencies.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think, well, okay, if you can do that changelog thing, I mean, is it, are you just looking for a file called changelog or history or what?
Well, this one, like I was hooking directly into changelog, right? But yeah, people already brought like, it would be nice to just be able to filter for a file, right? Not like git diff, right? You can just specify a file and just diff that, right? Like, yeah. So we already had some feedback, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, looks awesome. Anybody have anything they want to ask or say about npm diff?
That's cool. I didn't know it was a thing.
Roy, I just wanted to ask, are you going to be looking at any kind of pager? Like, for example, to be able to wire that through less?
Yeah. I don't know if it hook that up through config or something. But right now my idea with the POC was just try to make the output as closer as possible to get diff output, so that people can like hook in the same tools they're already using, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks great. I just wasn't trying to say that that's like an essential thing, just putting the idea in your head.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that's
yeah.
good feedback. Yeah.
Like the pager environment variable, respect that or something. Might be cool. Anyway, sweet. Ben wanted to talk about his interns.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the project, which is flaky tests. If anyone's contributed to Node.js, there's some flaky tests. Like, I think they're a little better than they used to be, but there's still, I notice it pretty often. We're doing a project where we want to kind of collect a bunch of data on flaky test behavior and see if we can get good about kind of algorithmically predicting which tests are flaky based on historical data. Why this is tooling adjacent is I'd like it to work for pretty much any test framework. And like the main need, I think, is that we will need to be able to output something human readable and also probably a like .tap output file that's just some machine readable form of the tests. So I'm going to look at Node.js's tool/test.py, and I think it's actually pretty easy to do in Node because they're just these little self-contained classes where you could make a class that outputs tap and whatever other format we want to output. But it would be cool to be able to do that for Mocha and some other stuff. So not directly, I guess, Node tooling related, but kind of a fun tooling thing I'm working on. And if you have any opinions about flaky tests or flaky tests, like how to identify them, is it a problem you've run into, just let me know. It's something I'm going to be working on throughout the summer.
Okay. Flaky tests. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. Okay, we have like, does anybody want to talk about the flaky test thing?
Well, the only thing I'd say is I find they always fit into like a certain number of different patterns that almost always have something to do with timing. So it'd be pretty interesting if like statistics on how these things come about, like specifically like how the root causes are all related, or perhaps in some cases not related. That'd be some pretty interesting data.
Right.
I'm curious because the like one intern I'm working with comes from like a machine learning background. So it seemed like, let's experiment and throw this into a model and see what comes out the other end. So I don't know if that will actually be the best approach, but I think it's like interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, like Mocha has flaky tests, but they're all like network related. They're all like can't talk to Sauce Labs, or Sauce Labs can't talk to one of its own machines, or AppVeyor can't talk to GitHub, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, that's a thing too, but it would be cool to like categorize them somehow. All right, well, so we got like, I don't know, 3 minutes or something, but 2 minutes. So I just wanted to, I don't think we need to set this up for next meeting, but I would like to do another deep dive meeting at some point here on something. I think that was, I can't remember what we did on that one time, but it was helpful. And so we would dedicate a meeting to a particular, like one thing essentially, and just, yeah, do a deep dive. And so if there's something you think that would be beneficial, I think what I'll just do is, I'll open an issue on the repo, and if you have an idea for something that you think like many of us should come and put our heads together on, let's do it. But yeah, I'll be making an issue and then just comment there, I suppose, because we don't really have enough time to kick around what that thing should be yet, I don't think so. All right. Well, I think that's about it. So everybody, please have a good weekend. Don't work too hard. Stay safe.
Have a good weekend.
That's what
Take
I
care.
got. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.